University of Ghana has said it has committed no illegality in the increase of fees for the 2022-2023 academic year. NUCs and other student unions have described the hike in fees by UG and other public tertiary institutions as illegal and contrary to the 15% approved by Parliament. In University of Ghana, for instance, academic fees have gone up between 30 and 40% from last year's charges. But in a statement, management explains that a 15% computation was done on the 2019 figures that it did not charge. My colleague Richard Kojo joins me on Zoom with a copy of the statement. Kojo, tell us about the defense UG put up in the statement.
The University of Ghana starts by saying that it finds it necessary to set the record straight and to correct false information being circulated about adjustments of academic facility user fees by the university for the 2022-2023 academic year. The adjustment of fees by the university, they say, is based on rates approved by Parliament and communicated through the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. And for the sake of clarity, they have outlined a number of reasons. First, they say that in the 2019-2020 academic year, public universities, including the University of Ghana, were given approval by Parliament to increase their fees by 5% cumulatively based on the 2016-2017 approved fees. And on the 27th of January 2020, the university received the approved and gazetted fees from the Ministry of Finance through the then National Commission of Tertiary Education. This was in the second semester of the 2019-2020 academic year. And after the university had already announced fees for that academic year. By this time, the university stated that it was too late for the university to implement the new fees. Now, the second point they raised is that though the gazetted approved fees for the 2019-2020 academic year were found to be higher than what the university had earlier requested students to pay for the academic year, the university management decided to suspend the implementation of the new fees until the 2020-2021 academic year. And this was to spare students from a fee increase in the middle of the 2019-2020 academic year. The third point they raised is that with the outbreak of COVID-19 in March 2020, coupled with associated challenges, management accepted a plea from the student leadership to further suspend the implementation of the parliamentary approved and gazetted fees until the 2021-2022 academic year. The fourth point, they say that in effect, therefore, the University of Ghana charged students subsidized fees for the 2019-2020, 2020-2021, and 2021-2022 academic years rather than the approved rate. The fifth point they raised is that following all the necessary internal consultations and approval by the University Council on 13 December 2022, the university announced that due to the increasing cost of operations, it had become necessary for the university to implement the 2019-2020 approved fees. The statement also noted that the fee schedules published at the time were provisional, and that amount to be paid would be updated once fees for the 2022-2023 academic year were approved by Parliament. The sixth point they raised is that on 21st December 2022, the university received a letter from GTEC dated 16 December 2022 communicating that Parliament had approved an upward review of academic fees by 15% of the last approved fees. And they state that it is important to note that the only previously approved fees were those gazetted and not the subsidized rate the university had to implement due to initially the initial one they had agreed. So to the late timing of the fee announcement in January 2022 and later by concessions, the concessions were made due to the COVID-19. And so they go further to assure parents and other stakeholders that the university has them at heart and they will not do anything to disturb them.
Okay, I'm grateful. So that's my colleague Richard Kojo there. Let's now go on Zoom again and speak to the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Gordon Awandare. Prof, I'm grateful that you could join us. First of all, is the University of Ghana in copy of that letter from GTEC, which says specifically and categorically that the 15% increase is to be calculated on the 2021-2022 fees?
Good evening to you. Yes, we are in copy of the letter. But I believe you would realize that that part of the letter is really not accurate. So Parliament increases fees based on the last approved fees. They don't increase fees based on what you charge any specific year. If that were the case, if we were charging fees that were higher than the approved fees, then we would have increased it based on our illegally increased fees already. And that would be unreasonable. So I don't think that statement is relevant to this discussion.
Well, but in your statement, you allude to the fact that GTEC is instructing you to implement the increment by Parliament. So it looks like you are trying to adopt part of that statement and neglect part of it, because part of it says it has to be charged on the 2020-2021 fees.
What will be the basis for that?
No. I mean, they as regulators of the your sector say that you have to charge it on that fee. So you cannot say that you are accepting part of their letter which says that you need to charge the new fee, and then you say that, well, that part of their letter is not something that you're going to accept.
It is not about accepting the letter. Let's be clear. The role of GTEC here is to communicate what Parliament has done. GTEC is not determining the fee increase. GTEC is communicating what Parliament has approved. Okay? So if communicating, they state a wrong premise in their communication, we are not obliged to go by their wrong communication.
Okay,
we are bound by what Parliament has approved, and that's what we're doing.
And Parliament said the increment is based on the 2019 figure. Is that what you're saying?
It says the previously approved. In 2021, 2022, Parliament did not approve any fees. So what kind of fees are you talking about? You understand where we're coming from?
I do.
Parliament says previously approved. Can you show me any parliamentary act from last year approving any fees?
Well, the question a student will be asking is, well, the 2019 figure you're talking about was not published. So how do you know? It was
published. It's Gazette, please. It's Gazette. Please go to, if you get a copy of the act, which is published, the fees are in there. And we're using the same fees.
Okay.
The exact fees that are in there, it's not about percentages, it's about cities.
Okay. So if a student also says that, this is a period where unions are even begging government not to touch their pension funds. So in this general economic hardship, will we be fair to say that we are increasing school fees when we know that the economy is not in good times?
Well, I think that's a fair question, but it's also important to ask yourself, the universities shop from the same market that you shop from, that everybody shops from. And you know where prices have gone. So where do we expect the university to make up the gap in the prices from? That's why Parliament, in its wisdom, approved a fee increase, because they know that there's inflation generally, and they know that the universities have to cope. And that's why there was a fee increment. And so we're implementing what has been approved.
Okay. But it looks like the student body is not part of the whole process, so that there could be a buy-in. Why is that lacuna? Why is that space such that the students are not complaining because they were not part of the process from the beginning?
With all due respect, have you seen any statement from the University of Ghana students?
But NUCs, which represent all the students...
NUCs are not in the University of Ghana. They've never talked to us. NUCs have never engaged the management of the University of Ghana. I don't know where they get their numbers from, where the figures they are throwing about, where they got them from. They've never engaged us. Our SRC and all our student leaders, they engage with us. They know what we're talking about.
Okay, so for students of the University of Ghana, they have all bought into the increment, right?
Well, they think that, like everybody else, when your fees are increased, you feel the pinch. They feel the pinch, but they do not claim that we are doing anything illegal.
Okay, all right. I'm grateful.
So let's be clear about that. You cannot have NUCs crying more than the bereaved. NUCs is not in the University of Ghana, please.
But NUCs is made up of students who are students of the University of Ghana, isn't it?
Work with facts, please. We should work with facts.
Okay, Prof. I'm grateful. Professor Gordon Awandare is Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana.